The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
We're the only person can hear and see you, but we're ready. We're over past time. We cannot hear you. You are live. Okay, but we don't hear it. Can you hear us? Yes.
It's just started.
Okay. Well, we're live, and I welcome you to our show. This is Ask Raphael, and I'm so happy to introduce to you today a co-host. And Holly is here to be a part of this show from here on. She's going to be my co-host, and she brings to it a great deal of expertise in understanding the metaphysical world. So, Holly, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Betty Ray. Thank you for inviting me to be part of the show. I'm so excited to be part of this show.
Well, great, because it needs new blood, honey. It needs new blood. We have been off air for a while because we were having some physical issues. And now that you are here and are going to be with us every week.
Yes.
And I think that's going to be exciting because we'll be able to have a question and answer. So I hope that all of you who are listening and have your questions, we'll have a real live discussion right here and we'll be able to talk about it. For today, though, we need to have you know a little bit more about Holly, and I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell us all about her past and what her expertise is. And so
thank you. Well, like most people, I would say that I've been on a spiritual journey all my life. As a young child, I knew that I was an instrument of God and that he was using me to help other people. And as I grew up and maybe into my 20s and 30s, then my intuition, my dreams started being more dominant in the messages that I was getting. So I was getting powerful dreams, powerful messages from my environment. I started looking at tarot cards, and then I incorporated all those things into my daily life, including teaching. I worked several years as a teacher, an English teacher, to speakers of other languages. And I use these tools to help me in my one-on-one interaction with students. And I found that a lot of my students had personal questions or spiritual questions, and they would come into my office and close the door and ask me questions. And it became sort of a counseling session, if you will. And
it works that way.
Yes. And so I'm more than willing to help people with their questions. And in my own journey, I think that I'm continuing to grow and expand and learn new things. And so now I just keep getting messages daily. I get messages, I get dreams, and I would like to share that with people and use those things to help people.
And you already are doing that. You have a whole clientele of people, and it's going to be even more so now that we're on the show together. And we want you to use our email. That is either angelbettyray@gmail.com. Did you want to give yours?
My email is goldeneagle623@gmail.com.
And Jason, can you put that up for us, please? So that we have a thing at the bottom here.
goldeneagle623@gmail.com.
And this is a new way of looking at life through the lens of this very gifted and talented person. And I'm so glad to welcome her aboard. You know, I have to tell you a little bit how that happened. When Holly got laid off from her college teaching job, um, it was like, what do I do now? This was like, okay, now what? And Spirit suddenly said to me, invite her to Florida. She's from Michigan. And Spirit said, invite her to Florida to live with you and to begin doing her spiritual work here. And so I called her out of the blue and I said, this is what you're going to do. You're going to move to Florida. You're going to live with me. We're going to open up a meditation center, not a retreat center, a meditation center. We've already got a labyrinth. We've got to walk through the woods. And I said, and I want you to be a part of that in teaching people how to meditate and teaching people how to pay attention to their dreams. So this is what Holly's going to be doing. She's going to be offering some insights in how to look at your dreams and interpreting them, because she's been doing it all of her life. And she incorporates the world around her like a dream. And so, and if she sees a bird fly over, this is a message from Spirit. So that's why her webpage is Golden Eagle, is because she has been privileged when she was in Michigan of seeing eagles all the time. Now, I lived in Michigan for, I can't tell you how many years. I never saw one eagle. So that says something right there. Her communication with nature and her communication, by the way, we now have a kitty that I have never had before. I haven't had an animal here. And we now have a stray kitty that has adopted Holly. And it's obviously Holly is the owner of this kitty. We're taking it into the vet to find out if it has one of those little things they insert in you and find out if he really belongs to somebody else. But if he doesn't, we're going to have him neutered and we're going to take care of him until, and Holly says that every cat has come to you.
Yeah, I've had cats come to me from in the environment, from neighbors, from just cats I don't know. They just come to me, and it's always been a gift. It's been such a gift. But I also feel that I can't, the cats are free to leave when they want to. And so none of the cats have stayed with me. They've all wandered on to their next journey, but it's just a joy when the cat comes to see me and visit me.
And it does. It is obviously, even though she's the one that feeds them, and I made sure that that's made the ownership well known there. But she has a way. The cat will come to me, but he just kind of comes over and acknowledges me, and then he goes back to Holly. So we know whose cat it is. In fact, we're right now trying to figure out now, how can we put in a cat door so that he can come and go in the screen room? Now, I won't invite him in my house because I have expensive, well, I shouldn't say expensive, but they're rugs, hand-hooked rugs that are expensive. And cats love to put their little claws in them. And these are hand-hooked and it would ruin them. So we've got the beautiful screen room porch that's where Kitty, and that's the name that we've designated.
That's his temporary name right now. His temporary
name. That's what he goes by. So Kitty is now a part of our lives. And I'm sure a lot of you that are here, I hope that you're going to give us some comments. It says we cannot hear you. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Okay, please do comment, type in what you'd like to know or what you'd like to hear us talk about, because we are here to be for you, for what you need to know about Spirit, about Archangel Raphael. Because we're a partner now, I can probably do a channeling of the Archangel, because I can go into that trance state and somebody is here to ask questions of me when I'm in the trance state, and I can bring Raphael through. So that's another advantage that we have that we didn't have before.
And we'd like to invite the audience to post questions or email us with questions, because we might be able to talk about things, and Betty Ray and I have some common points of view, but we also have some different approaches to the topics. So we'd like to hear from you. What's on your mind? What would you like us to talk about?
Okay. I hope because this is making me not see this. Is only
just keep going.
Just keep going. Okay. All right. We hope that you are hearing us, and we hope that you are reaching us, because we know that if you miss this show, you can get it on iHeartRadio and Pandora. And I think there's some other stations that we're on, but we're here live every Tuesday at noon. And that's when you can get a question answered like that. And that's really important. And we want you to subscribe and to let us know that what's important to you. Now, we don't do predictions. We want to tell you that right up front. And if you say, "Will I find my true love?" This is not what we are here for. We're not psychics and we're not mediums. There's a very big difference here. We are what you call a channel, because we get information from spirit, we get information from nature, we get information from the Archangel Raphael. And obviously, Holly is a part of that now too, or she wouldn't be here. So do come to us and ask your questions. And if you can't do it online like this, I think you have to give your email address in order to be able to get online. And maybe some people are reluctant to do that. But don't hesitate. And I'll ask Jason to put my email address up there, angelbettyray@gmail.com. And you can set up a live reading with me or with Holly. Holly has her own way of reading, and she does tarot cards and she does other cards, but she's also very, very intuitive and has been all her life. So she knows how to go into what I call a trance state, that when you go to sleep at night, the brain waves slow down and they go to what's called the alpha level. That's the dream state. Now, what I have learned and what Holly has learned, that we can get to that dream state and stay awake. That's the ticket, because when you can get to the dream state and stay awake, that's when spirit and angels can give you information. It's a connection there that you need. And this is something we'd like to teach as well, how to get to that dream state and stay awake, because you can get all kinds of information that you would not have otherwise. You pray, you talk to God, but you don't hear him answer back. And this is something that can be discouraging for people, because they think, well, I asked God for this and I asked God for that. Well, let's say right here and now, don't ask. Just say, "Thank you, God, that all my needs are met this day and every day of my life." And if you say that many times a day, if you say that every day, you will be amazed how your needs are taken care of before you even know you had the need. And that's what we're trying to help you to do, to trust that, to trust your own intuition. And we'll probably be teaching classes in intuition too.
Probably. I would like to add that it's important to have some quiet time during the day. Maybe when you first wake up, if you just spend, even 10 minutes of quiet time and just listen. Our minds are working all day, but in the morning you have a good chance of listening to your guides and angels, to God, to the universe, because you don't have all this information in there from your daily activities. So I would encourage everyone just to spend some quiet time in the morning or maybe in the evening and just sit back and listen. Calm yourself down and just open yourself and listen. And you'd be surprised what comes to you.
Well, I don't I don't see you making comments, but I can hear you saying, "Well, if you had 3 kids in your house, you wouldn't have any time of quiet time." Oh, yes, you do. You put those 3 kids to bed. And there's time there. And maybe they wake you up in the morning so you don't have that morning time, but you can find 15 minutes. And what you have to do is lock yourself in the bathroom and tell them to go away. This is your meditation time. But it's really, really important for your spiritual development. And when we talk about spiritual development, we will be giving information on how to develop what we call the 4 clairs. And that is claircognizant. It's a knowing that you know, but you don't know how you know. That's where you get information, and you get it in many different ways. It'll be a flash of an idea. It'll be something you read in a book. It's like, oh my gosh, yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. But it's important that you have time to listen to your own angels. People have asked me, how do I listen to my angel? Well, first of all, you have to get all of the cluttered mind ideas out of your head. do you remember those old binoculars they used to have and you put a slide in them? This is what I tell people to do. You imagine in your mind a beautiful place in nature. You have whatever season you love the best, you can make it there. You can have all the flowers that you want, even if you can't name them. You can have all the different kinds of trees, and you can have them in every season. Like here we are in Florida, we don't have those beautiful Michigan falls, leaves and stuff. But when I go to my inner sanctuary, I can have them. And this is what we're encouraging you to do. Create your inner sanctuary. And when you do that, you can be driving along in the car and you can go to that inner sanctuary, but you have to be careful because you can fall asleep. So because you are at that alpha level where dreams can come, but it's also where your intuition opens up. When you can go into your imagination. A lot of people think, well, I'm not good at imagination, but you are. You just need to think about that and to visualize and practice doing that. So any other suggestions that you
Well, we
have?
were talking about the 4 clairs. So of the other
That's
clairs,
good.
we talked about claircognizance, an inner knowing, just knowing, clairvoyance, which you use a lot.
Yes, I'm called a clairvoyant because I get visions. And I'm also clairaudient because I hear Raphael. So those are words. Now, those are French words. And it just means clear seeing, clear hearing, clear knowing, and clear sensing. Clear sensing, that's your gut. When you get a gut level idea, then you listen to it. You learn to use your body to help you to understand what it is Spirit is trying to say to you. And these are classes that we'll likely teach as well.
Yeah, I can see
things.
that. Yeah, I rely on a lot of the clairs. Sometimes I get more than one at the same time.
yes.
And so I can't just say, well, it's always a vision or it's something I always see. It could
Right.
be any of those. Even I've had dreams where I have a taste in my mouth when I wake up in the morning. Very clear,
That's
distinct
really-
taste. And that's clairgustance.
Oh, I
And you
didn't
could
even know
also
that.
have clairalience, which is clear smelling, where you notice a smell that's not coming from your environment, but you distinctly sense a smell. And people have said that when they smell cigarette smoke or a cigar smoke,
and they know
during
it's
a
somebody from the
reading.
past. Yes, it could be.
Yeah,
in
it could be
spirit.
something like that, or someone's cologne or perfume, or some kind of food that comes to you.
And we also want to encourage you that if that does happen and all of your senses begin to open up, your inner senses, these are not the outer senses. When that begins to open up, don't be afraid when you suddenly sense your mother nearby or your grandmother, or because you smell their perfume or something. Don't be afraid of it. They're not what we think of as ghosts and ghost stories. They're not that. They are pure spirit now, and they can come and go. They don't need wings to fly, and nor do angels. But spirits can come and visit you to see if you're okay. And if you are open to the idea of opening these inner senses, you'll become more and more aware, and that will expand your awareness in being able to be in contact with your angels. So we encourage you to think about that and to take time. That's the thing.
Yes, it takes time. It just doesn't happen overnight, but you're training yourself, you're training your mind to quiet itself so that you can get these other messages coming in. But it does take time. It's taken me years of practice, daily practice, including yoga practice, not only the physical yoga, but also the philosophical aspect of yoga, and training the mind to focus on one thing and quiet the mind. And then you can start receiving these other messages.
Well, I think that's something that you are more disciplined at than I am. I don't know what you call it, but she says that when I do the radio show, I'm all over the place. I can jump from one topic to another. And that's why it's nice to have Holly here, because she just right now, she did that. She brought us back to the topic of the 4 clairs.
Yeah.
Yes. And so she's going to be a balance wheel for me, because I have a way of chatting, and I can be in one subject and I can jump to another because one thing leads to another and that leads to another. And I don't always go back and bring it all together. So I've got my balance wheel here, and she can help us get back to the topic. But we want to welcome you. And it is so wonderful to have a co-host now that can keep me on track, number one, and also to bring her knowledge and her experience. Now, she has worked at the university level all of her teaching career, where I've worked with 2-year-olds up through high school, and mostly with junior high crazy kids. So, our experience as teachers has given us a lot of insight and a lot of patience with people, I guess I could say, because we know that everybody is an individual. Everybody has their own needs and their own desires, and they're created by God. Their soul is created by God to be an explorer of planet Earth. And to do that, you've got to be the human being. You got to wear this suit for a while, because you wouldn't survive on planet Earth if you had any other kind of a suit on. So this is your space suit, this physical body that you have, and you need to take care of it. And this is another thing. This gal knows how to cook.
Oh,
she could.
no, nothing spectacular, just some simple meals that are healthy.
Oh, yeah, that's the whole thing. They're healthy. Salmon. She has introduced me to salmon because I was a hamburger person and hot dogs and things like that, raising 3 boys and a girl. But now I'm not vegetarian, but we do have salmon, but we're also gluten-free. And I found that made a big difference with my digestive tract, that I didn't know I was allergic to gluten. And it isn't a real bad allergy, because I could have something and I won't get really sick. But with her point of view in looking at it from the yoga position of how food is the nourishment of the body and the soul, this is a new way of looking at what you put in your mouth.
Well, I was taught, Betty Ray, from my yoga teacher that garlic and onions stimulate the mind and cause it to jump around and race. And then in the yoga philosophy, we call that the monkey mind, because it's like monkeys are jumping around in your head. So the yogic diet, it's purely vegetarian. And also the strict vegetarian or vegan diet also includes no onions and no garlic, because it stimulates the mind.
Whoa.
But that's an extreme version of.
So, but what, on the other hand, though, what you're telling me is that when I'm writing my novel, I need to eat garlic and onions.
Well, you could try it and see what happens.
I could try it. It's a good thing I'm talking to the computer when I'm doing it. I wouldn't blow anybody out of the room with garlic and onion breath. But these are things that are beyond our normal awareness. As we grow up, if we don't have any kind of background in this kind of yoga training that this young lady has gone through for a very long time, we wouldn't be aware of how food is very important, how it enters your mind. And I think this is something that Holly has a gift to give to us. And we can talk about that on a radio show, about diet and about food and about what foods will do what for your body if you're having a problem with something. So we will hopefully plan to do something like that. But we would like your input. We need your input to say, what kind of information would you like from the two of us together? Oh, these old teachers now here. I'm the very old one. She's the young one. So, but it is important that you understand that you are a teacher yourself. You are here to be okay, we're getting something from our thing. Oh, okay, all right. But we're not getting comments. So we hope that you will send us, if you have to go through our email, send us some information and we'll bring it up on our Tuesday show. But we're here every Tuesday. We will be together every Tuesday at noon. Please tell your neighbors and your friends to tune in. But if you miss us, we're on iHeartRadio, we're on Pandora, and there's several others that I don't know. Maybe Jason, you could put across what other stations we will be on so people can do us. Is it showing it there? I can't see it, but anyway, thank you. So you can look us up if you miss us, because you might be very busy at noon, but you can check us out. But then you can email us. You've got my email, angelbettyray@gmail.com, and you've got Holly's email, which is
goldeneagle623@gmail.com.
So we hope to hear from you, because to make this show really come alive, We have to know that there are people out there who want answers to questions that they haven't been able to get from their religious organization or their church or whatever it is, because you are always expanding spiritually. And we grow out of our spiritual skin and put on a new skin when we begin to expand our minds. I know I was raised in a very Christian environment, and when I went to become an ordained minister back in '97, I was introduced to a teacher from Michigan State University who taught world religions. That was amazing. The experience of understanding how, going back to the very beginning of time, when religion was always something that was there, because the human being has to feel that need to connect again with God. And every religion that has blossomed from that need is valid and is worthy of the people who are in it to follow it until or if they expand into want to do something new. We are open and respectful of all religions. I would say we've both been raised Christian, and that this is our basic kind of religion, but we also honor other, what do you call them? Avatars? Other avatars that have come on the planet and have set up a religion that people have followed, because that's what they are. They are spiritual teachers, and they will always have a follower. And we hope that as spiritual teachers ourselves, that we have a follower, but we are open-minded to all religions. We are accepting and we are honoring all religions. There is never any good, better, best. Believe me, all of them will get you a ticket to heaven. And so honor that belief that you have. And if you do get new ideas, don't hesitate to follow them, to open your mind and do something different. And do ask Raphael. And if you have questions for Raphael, don't hesitate to email me, and I can, or we probably will have a channeling right here where I can go into that trance state. Now, you see, when you're talking to Betty Ray, I can't give you those answers. I am not a medium. I am not a psychic. I am an interpreter of an archangel's wisdom. And so I get pictures more often than not. That's why they call me clairvoyant. But I also am able to hear things and to sense in my gut. And that's what we want to help each individual. We want to help you to develop all of your inner senses so that you can get that warning at times, which says, slow down. And I remember that happened to me one time, but I didn't pay attention to it. I was told to slow down. And the next thing I knew, I was getting a ticket because I do have a heavy foot. And if I had listened and paid attention, I would have saved myself from that. So you learn to get it, to hear that voice within you, and to get visions. Sometimes if you learn to open up that inner vision, you might see a traffic jam ahead of you. You might sense it in your gut, and you might get a vision of it, and then you know how to take a detour around it so you don't get caught up in it. That's why it's important to open up your four clairs, as we call it: clairvoyance, clairaudient, clairsentient, gut, and claircognizant, a knowing that you know, but you don't know how you know. So those are some of the things that we're going to do together and talk about here.
I'd also like to say, you can't just check out and wait for a vision to come in, that you need to be in the present moment. Excellent. Throughout the day. So it's easy to kind of fall into that alpha state when you're driving for a long distance, and you realize, how did I get here? Because I don't remember the last 20 minutes. But no matter what you're doing throughout the day, be in the present moment and pay attention to your feelings, your emotions, and use them to guide you. So if you're not feeling that great, think of one little tiny thing you could do to make yourself feel better, and take that action to help you feel better. Sometimes people who are down, or maybe they're ill, maybe they're depressed, it feels like it's just too hard to make that giant step, but we don't need to take the giant step. We can just take a very small step. So Maybe
Give
I'll
an
make a cup
example.
of tea. I'll
There
make
you
a cup
go.
of tea
There she goes.
because I like to drink tea, and I'll just sit by the window, or maybe I'll call my friend and talk to her. Something small that you can do that would just make you feel a little bit better. When I talk to my daughter, we talk about when we've been through a very difficult time. I'll ask her, well, what is your shred of happiness today? What's that one little shred of happiness?
That's a good
And so
idea.
that way you have to find some little thing that helps improve your day. Because
Excellent.
it's just too hard to think of that big leap from depression to joy. That's such a quantum leap. It's doable, but it's more likely that if we can just pay attention to our emotions and our moods and do some little thing to help us feel better.
Well, in Raphael's book, Ask Raphael, which I need to give a plug here, and it's right behind you over there. Can you reach it? We do recommend Raphael's book, Ask Raphael, and it has a lot of suggestions that we'll be giving you throughout. And it is a wonderful resource for you in the kinds of things that we're talking about. And so we would also like to say that when you learn to listen to your own divine guidance and you open up what we call the four clairs within yourself, you do that by paying attention to your emotional barometer. As we were talking here a moment ago, everybody has emotions. While you're in the physical world, you have emotions, and they are either they're either a good guide or a bad guide for you. Because I like to pretend that I have an angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other shoulder. And in fact, in my novels, we have our young heroine who has come to that conclusion. So she calls the devil Beelzebub, and she names him Z for short. And she has an angel who actually works with her, and her name is Alana. So she's got A to Z, and you do too. Everybody has their own demons and their own angels. And the thing of it is, depression is when you are in a dark space. It's not a demon. There's no such thing, people, as a demon. It is only your darkness that creates what feels like the oppression of a demon. And that depression that people, it's so common nowadays that the only way that you can change that is recognizing this barometer of emotions. And that when you look at it as a barometer, like, like outdoors, a barometer, when the red bulb is way down at the bottom and it's the darkest, the only way that you can get yourself out of that is taking that little video thing and put in a new vision. Don't allow yourself to look at the darkness of what you're experiencing. Don't allow yourself to get so bored with life that there's nothing exciting in your life anymore. Start putting in new ideas, allowing new ideas to come in. And they're like that little binoculars. You put in the slide.
The Viewmaster?
The Viewmaster, thank you. Old thing, because they don't have slides anymore. But imagine that you do have those slides. And imagine that when you got down in the dumps, oh, poor me, or you got oh my goodness, I hurt so much. Yes, that can cause the dark side to come in. But give yourself a whole bunch of pictures that you can put in a slide. And so if you can think of the most beautiful place in nature, if you love water, what is your expression of water? Is it the ocean? Is it a pond? Is it a lake? Anything that gives you the feeling of that serenity. Begin to have a warehouse storage of pictures that you can put into that slide when you are now looking at a darkness of depression, and allow yourself to be lifted out. You are in charge of your emotions. It doesn't seem like it a lot of times. It feels like your emotions are in charge of you. And that's what happens with depression. You feel helpless and hopeless, and you're in a dark space. But when you allow yourself to imagine, that's where the imaging comes in. And I've said this so many times on this show, when Jesus said, unless you become as little children, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. Now, my goodness, that sounds like, how do you do that? But a little child has a great imagination. And when you can have an imagination for good, you can pull yourself out of that darkness and create the good. You've experienced this anytime in your life?
Yes, I would say that I meditate daily. And so for me, I take a little bit different approach and I just try to empty my mind. So instead of putting pictures in it, I come to a place where I'm listening and focusing on one point inside my mind. My eyes are shut and I'm using my inner ear and my inner eye. And I focus on one point and I let go so that I'm trying to empty my mind in this case.
Okay.
So that's where the calmness comes in, and that's where I can start listening. I'm just listening, and I'm trying to stay focused on one point. And if that's difficult, then listen to your breath.
Good. There's
you
a
can
yoga
always
teacher.
come back to your breath, breathing in and breathing out. Just come back to the breath. So when you have a distracting thought, you can come back to the breath.
Okay, take a minute just to tell us how to breathe. Now, everybody doesn't know how to breathe.
Well, I know you have covered this in the show before.
Yes,
You talk about the
but
singing.
now I've got the yoga instructor here.
Well, we agree that you need to breathe from the diaphragm, right? It's not with your shoulders.
Okay. Yes.
But for me, the way I was trained was to take an inhale on a 4 count. So you inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4, so that you have this steady in and steady out. So it's not take a deep breath in and then let it all out at once. That you may have heard people do that in a yoga practice, but that's not the way that I was trained.
No.
Because if you can regulate, not control, but regulate the breathing so that there's always a steady in breath and a steady out breath, by listening to your breath, you can regulate your nervous system. So paying attention to the breath is a way to calm down your nervous system. And it's hard to do when you're feeling anxious or you're upset about something. But if you can come to the breath and take a deep breath in and take a deep breath out and just focus on the breathing, this can help calm your body down, including your blood pressure.
Excellent. A lot of people have a problem with blood pressure, and this is an actual exercise. You know, they used to talk about biofeedback way back when, that you could not just take your blood pressure down, but you could help heal your heart, and you could heal a lot of ways by, so breathing, though, is absolutely essential. In fact, in talking to my daughter lately and complaining about my inability to sleep and how I'll wake up sometimes gasping for breath, she said, "Mom, you probably have sleep apnea. You need to go get checked out." So that's one of the things that I'm going to do this week, is see a doctor and find out about it. Because I don't know if you've ever heard of sleep apnea, but it's when you have a breathing problem and you cannot get the breath to be flowing normally. And there is a methodology. There's a machine you can use that will help you. And so I'm going to look into that, the sleep apnea problem, because it sounds like I might have that as a problem, because I don't sleep well. And I do sometimes, when I do get to sleep, I do wake up and have to gasp for breath. So it sounds like it could be what its problem is.
It's always good to check with the doctor.
Oh, of course. Of course. Well, sleep apnea is something you can't treat without the help of a doctor. So you have to go. So I've got a doctor's appointment, but you know, nowadays you get asked for an appointment, it's not till next month before you can see them. So, and with the pandemic and all of the stuff that's going on, things are not as normal as we hope they will be eventually. And I cannot predict to you, because that's not what I do. I cannot say to you, oh, the pandemic will be over by such and such a time. I wish I could, but I don't see it going away that quickly.
I think what we know from the past is the past, and we're going to come into a new normal. We don't know what that is yet, but we are evolving. The world is evolving. We as a society are evolving. And so we may grieve, oh, I miss the way things used to be, but there's constant change in the universe. And
That's
so
the
we
one
have to
thing you can
adapt
count
along
on.
the way.
Is change. Change is something you can count on. And if you're not comfortable with change, then you're going to be very uncomfortable in your skin for a long time, because the world around you is changing. And if you can't adapt to that, then you're going to be bucking your head against a brick wall. And when you can accept that change is inevitable, and that's how we grow. If we didn't have a different way of looking at things, if we weren't challenged, challenges are good because they help you to shed that skin and get a new one. And that means you're advancing in wisdom. Your soul is here to gain knowledge about a planet called Earth. And it is observing everything. It is your story writer. You are here according to the plan of your soul. It chose the DNA from your parents. We've said this before on this channel. And you are here with a mission. Now people say, oh, what's my mission? What's my mission? Your mission is to discover the joys of this planet. And when you ask God, what is it that I am to learn? And God will say through Raphael, be happy. When you are happy, you are exuding God energy. But when you are down in the dumps, that's dark energy. And it doesn't help you. It doesn't help anybody else. But when you can get out of that darkness and into the light of being of service to others, this is often a way that you can get happy. And that old song, don't worry, be happy, that is a guideline for everybody. God wants us to be happy. And we can only do the work of happiness when we let go of our fears and our anxieties and our belief that we're not good enough in any way. We are divinely created to be explicitly who we are. You cannot be anybody else but you. And that is so important to accept that and rejoice in it. Now, old Gabby here is going to be learning to give and take in this. So I throw it back in Holly's lap and say, when you run into a crisis like suddenly being laid off from teaching, how do you handle it?
Yeah, I was going to go to that because we're talking about change. And I can say a couple of years ago, I felt I didn't know how it was going to play out, but I felt that I was going to be leaving my job for some reason.
And you had no idea.
This was a couple of years ago. And I even said to my coworkers, my colleagues, I said, I just can't imagine myself being here for 5 more years. I was saying that, but I didn't know how that was going to play out. And then a year ago, I felt that I was going to be moving from my apartment. I thought I'm going to be moving. I didn't know where. It just felt like I was going to be moving. So that was in the back of my mind. And then within a few months of that, I would say that was last spring. And then in a few months, I got my layoff notice.
Yeah.
And I wasn't surprised because I was feeling it. I was sensing that something was going to be changing.
By becoming aware of those inner senses, even though they aren't in written words, they aren't in any way, you get an intuitive gut feeling, an idea, and you listen to it, you pull it in, you don't just let it wash over you. You pull it in and you ponder it, and but you let it sit on a shelf.
And so, not obsess about it. I'm not worried what am I going to do if I lose my job? No.
That would be negative energy that would not allow you to lift yourself up out of that challenge and to see the light of the goodness of that change. There's so many people that are afraid of change that they're creating a change that's really uncomfortable because their fear is monopolizing the sense of joy of new experiences. And when you can change your mind and decide to look at life and its challenges and changes as an opportunity for your soul to stretch and grow and experience new things, that's what it's here for. And if you didn't have change in your life, you wouldn't be growing, and your soul would be pretty bored.
And I was looking for a change.
Yeah.
I said, oh, I think my time is done here. I think I'm open to a change. And then down the road here, little by little, things were coming into my life where there were major changes happening. And in fact, when Betty Ray called me with her idea, I was on the computer at that time, ready to register a new business in Michigan.
That's right.
I was filling out the forms. And then I got a phone call from Betty Ray, and she blasted me with this idea, and I was just overwhelmed. I couldn't believe it, but the timing
was perfect.
was perfect. She called me right as I was finishing up that form and telling her, well, tomorrow I'm going to send this in. I'm going to the bank. I'm going to register the business,
In Michigan.
And she says,
no, come to Florida.
Before you do that, think about this.
And what I said to think about it, come and be my partner in the spiritual realm. Come and bring new lifeblood into what I want to do here. I want this to be a meditation center. I have beautiful property, but I didn't think of it that way. I just was told, call Holly, tell her she has to come down here and have a new experience. And it just as it came to me, I called her right away. I didn't give myself time to think about it, how I could do it, what it meant. I just called her and I said, this is what Raphael says. And she goes, say what? What? You expect me to, what? And it was,
oh my goodness.
You guess all she kept saying, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And I kept saying, well, you don't have a job. You need to have some place to live. And I've got a spare bedroom. You can come here. There's no extra cost because shoot, I don't eat much. And oh my goodness, was that ever a good decision for me as well? I mean, I'm 87 and she has not been a caretaker, but she has certainly taken good care of me. And it has been such a blessing. But the fun part of it is we meditate every night. We spend 15, 20 minutes with candles lit. And it's so beautiful in here because it's totally dark and we've got candles everywhere. As you can see behind us, that's just a very small part of the candles. It is so wonderful, so peaceful. If you can do that for yourself, if you're by yourself, go in the bathroom if you have to and lock the door and tell people not to bother you for an hour and light candles and tune in to your own divine guidance. It is so healing that it is a healing method. So everybody has aches and pains. Everybody has something to complain about in their physical body. This is a methodology that allows you to relax and to allow healing. And so it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't followed Raphael's vision and said, call Holly and tell her she's coming down here to live with you. I mean, that's the way it was. It wasn't any yes, no, or maybe. It was like, Holly, this is what Raphael says. You have to pack up and you have to come down to Florida.
But that was your perspective, right? For me, it took me some time to process all of that.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more practical. I also had several options of where I thought I could possibly move. And so Betty Ray moving to Florida was one of those options. Mm-hmm. So it took me a couple of weeks to kind of get used to that idea. So it wasn't just immediately that I accepted that idea and started packing.
Yeah, but think about it. What I was saying, that you come live with me. We will do a meditation center. We will work together. And I had no idea how it was going to happen, but I just knew that was what it was supposed to be. So it was a blast out of the past, because how long have we known each other? It's been a long time.
Yeah, about 15 years.
Yeah. I had a retreat center in Michigan. I had a 6,200 square foot house on 18 acres of woods and lawn, and beautiful, just beautiful. And I, after my husband passed away, I was able to, okay, we do have something. Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Here's checking things then. So this retreat center came when I had somebody that came to live with me, and we decided to expand the house so that we could have people that could stay overnight. And I was beginning to channel Raphael. That's when that happened. And so that's how Holly actually met me, but she found out about me. And I remember this, you didn't want to come right away. You weren't really very interested. Isn't that true?
Well, a friend invited me to come to one of the gatherings. It's that I hadn't had that type of experience before. I had not heard of channeling. I had not heard of those types of meetings. So I was a little bit hesitant. Not that I didn't want to come, but just because of my upbringing, I was a little bit hesitant.
Mm-hmm. But then when we met face to face.
Yes, when I met Betty Ray and I looked into her face, I said, oh my goodness, I see myself. I see a future version of myself.
Exactly. I'm getting goosies, as they call it. I'm getting winged. And that was really the beginning. We didn't know it. We didn't know
No,
it
we
then.
had no idea. We had
no.
no idea that
Yeah.
this was going to turn into where we are right now.
Yeah. But then that was your first experience with a channeler too, though.
Yes.
And so you had to experience it to say, yep, that's real. It is not easy for people to see a transition go through me where I still look very much like Betty Ray, but Raphael speaks through me. That's kind of a, like, how does that happen? You know? And Raphael can take over my body and get up and walk around, and he would do that. We would have people in the great gathering room, and Raphael take over my body and walk around and bless people. So it is an experience that I hope we're going to be able to share with you, because I tried doing it once on my own, but by the time it takes me to get into that trance state, it's dead air time, and that's not so good. So we could try doing it where I would go into the trance state before we would even get to be a live show, and then we can have a conversation with Raphael. So, okay, we've got time.
It's time to wrap it up. We're there.
We're already done. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Holly.
And thank you, Betty Ray.
We'll be talking next week. Please tell your friends, and we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.